Hey, baby, how you doing?
Well, I'm wondering what's going on here. So, I'm here. I'm with you.
All right. We are live on YouTube. How you doing today, honey?
I'm doing great. It's always a pleasure to be with my beloved and joining the fires and
24/7. Really? We're having a lollipop? Never should have told you where that was.
fatal mistake.
Fatal mistake. I was gonna say it's 9:30 in the morning. It's 10:30.
That's my creative side, my love.
Okay, well, hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Complex Couple Podcast. We've done 9. Oh, we've done 8. We're up to 9.
That's right.
We've been very consistent. I'm very proud of us.
Well, with my busy schedule, I'm
All
putting
right,
so
we
much
are
work into it.
calling. Yeah, I know. Thanks for fitting this podcast in. Appreciate it.
No problem, babe. I'm glad to be here.
All right, we
Better
are
than
calling
painting the
this
deck.
episode. What'd you say?
I said better than painting that fucking deck.
Oh, the deck. Painting the deck. Yeah, no fun.
That's a sore thumb for me, baby.
I know, but it's raining today, so you can't. Okay, we are calling this episode Winging It, which is something that Keith and I have learned how to do quite well, I think independently, and once we came together as a couple, we'd also do it fairly well. And what we mean by that is making decisions as you go, not thinking too far in advance, too many years down the road, too many weeks down the road, and just making decisions as they come up, as new opportunities cross our paths. And so far that has worked really well for us. But I think before we dive into that, we wanted to give people a little bit of an update, right? What we've been up to. Kind of what we've been up to and why what we have been up to and why we have been up to it. Do you want to start?
Yes. Okay. Well, in the last couple of weeks, we bought a van. We scored a deal on it. Jennifer found this dealership. So for some of you people that may be thinking about going to a dealership, it might be a good time. But we got the van. We got the windows tinted. We are basically looking at a lot of video, which you can find, which is giving us some ideas of how we want the build to look when it's finished and what we need.
Yeah, and just for a little bit of context, in case some people have never listened to any of our podcasts, we are converting a van for van life. We want to create a mini home on wheels that we can drive anywhere. So I didn't want to interrupt, but I just wanted to sort of lay the land, a little bit of context.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but that's why I married you, baby. You always fill those gaps so people don't, step into a hole. So with that said, we bought some software, which I'm waiting for Jennifer to send it to me, that will help us in the virtual world set things up the way we like. What else?
Yeah, the software
Jennifer,
is
throw
like
some ideas at me.
3-dimensional. Wait, sorry, I interrupted again.
No.
I
Go ahead.
got all
I want you
excited.
to. No, go ahead and tell about it.
Yeah, it's 3D software, and you can design where your bed is going to go, where the kitchen counter, the sink, if you're going to have a shower or not, and really lets you see it visually, pick the colors, which is really helpful for me. I kind of have a hard time with that spatial visualization.
Virtual world.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that it's not like a game. So, the measurements that you make, that you can actually figure out how much material you might need of a certain type of material. I mean, this is how elaborate the software is. And it just gives you that ability to use multiple types of different material to see what the van would look like, and the placement, and the height, and the 3D world. So you got the X axis, the Y, and whatever. But you can,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Matter of fact, I can't say too much about it now. because I'm waiting for my missus to send me the software that I asked her to
Okay.
do.
I know. I have the login and password. I want to hand it off because I don't think I do well with that spatial orientation with the software. So Keith is going to take the lead on that one, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
And maybe we should
no
say,
problem.
why
So
are we
what
doing this?
else?
Why are we selling the house? Why are we hopping into a teeny weeny house on wheels? I know what my number one answer is. What's yours?
Fun.
Short and sweet. I like it.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. My number one reason is the freedom of movement, right? Not being in one place, being able to roll in somewhere, explore it, stay for a while, and then roll on out and see the next thing.
Mm.
And that doesn't mean that we're going to be rolling every single day. We may drop anchor for weeks or months at a time in different places.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
it is
I
going to
mean,
be fun.
it's going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be like, I don't know. I guess in some ways it will be invigorating.
Invigorating?
Invigorating is what, yeah, because you're going
Yeah.
to be all over the place,
Yeah.
So, and I just, new faces. I mean, some of it'll get boring at times, but I think there's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of cool experiences.
And I think it's going to be, I was going to say terrifying. That's too strong of a word, but we are going to have our challenges and we know it. We just don't know what they're going to be yet.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to rear their ugly heads in the moment, and we're going to find out what that is. So, yeah.
But we've been watching tons of YouTube videos, watching other couples design their vans or build their vans. It's really fun. It's fun to evolve. So if you want to follow along with us, please stay tuned to this podcast. We also are on Instagram now. We have a Facebook page. For those of you who are just the podcast and not watching this on YouTube, we also have a YouTube channel. And our goal is to share and inspire. Really, we would love to encourage people to really do the things that light them up, really do the things that they dream of, whatever it is. We're not saying your dream is to be in a van. That's our dream. But to carve out different ways, different places where you can honor yourself and what you desire. And we're going to be doing that all along the way and sharing our journey.
Yeah,
Anything
it
you
is
want to add to
important.
that?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of a product of that. And, most of my life, prior to getting married the first time, I was winging my life. And a lot of people have asked me, over the years, Keith, how'd you end up doing this and doing that and living this kind of life and doing these different things? None of it was really planned. I had to make decisions like in the spur of the moment. And they're kind of scary because sometimes, you've got this decision that can really make or break you for a while. If it's the wrong decision, you're going to suffer for it. But that's what makes it kind of, I don't know, worth making, because the idea that, okay, at least I have the courage to try this. And if I do, if I eat this, so, I don't want to get too involved, I guess, on the specific side, but just have the courage to go do something that you're uncomfortable with, but deep down inside you really want to do it. Stop making excuses for not doing the things that you want to do, and find excuses to do them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, speaking from someone who comes from a very traditional childhood life, and I did college, and after college I did the marriage, house, kids thing. I think a lot of that I did want, but a lot of that I did just because I felt I should. And I never really opened myself up to exploring other possibilities, exploring alternative routes, alternative paths, things like that. One thing I always wanted to do, which is kind of related to what you and I are doing, when I was raising kids and they were younger, I thought it would be so awesome to travel around the country for a year in an RV. But I got to a point where I had the house and the mortgage and a husband who didn't really see things the way I did. And I just really gave up on that desire, which I still think would have been so cool. And I still think it could have happened if I really allowed myself the opportunity to consider it and figure it out.
Yeah. It's amazing what, we do stuff every day of our lives subconsciously. It just gets done, right? I'm not sure why I'm going off on this, but the point is that, okay, so you go into the kitchen's dirty, you clean it. You don't even realize you clean it. You just do it. So if we could use that approach to some of our dreams, instead of overthinking them, just going in there and you're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm doing this. I'm trying to think of probably one of my most rewarding winging it decisions were. What was that? What was you know what, I'll go, Jennifer, I'll go back to you and I will think about that because it's been a few of them, but one of the, I guess what I'm trying to say is one of the most rewarding results from a winging decision I ever made. That really brought me a lifetime.
Oh, you're going to give some thought to it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we started recording this, you and I were talking about some ways that we've been winging it in our relationship and how we've known each other all along the way. And it's been so fun and so inspiring. I can't say that it's all been fun. There are times where we have been challenged, but we're never really going too far out. Like, I guess when we think of the future, what we do know is that we want to be together, right? What we don't know and that we're making up as we go along is where we're going to be. And we do want a house, but we don't want to settle down now and we can't decide where it's going to be anyway because we don't know yet. We don't know what we're going to see on the road. We don't know different areas where we're going to explore. Right now, there are two places that we both really like. It would be really hard to pick one over the other, but I think if we spend some time there and we kind of try it on, that makes those decisions clearer and clearer rather than what a lot of people do, and be this person, is make a decision like out ahead and then try to figure out the path to get there. Like, how am I going to do that? Well, let's just make things up as we go along or make decisions as we go along.
Yeah. and don't be scared if some of those decisions are wrong or just not,
oh yeah, we've
don't
made
bring
mistakes.
The results.
Hell yeah, we have. One example was, say a year ago, Keith moved into my house where I live with my mother. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle right from the beginning. So not long later, Keith moved out. We just made a different decision. This isn't working the way we thought, so let's do something different. And then Keith moved to Florida. And then I decided I want to come visit Keith in Florida. And so I bought a plane ticket. And that is what has kept our relationship going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call it sacrifice, but you might have to sacrifice one thing for another. I actually thought when I said I was going to go to Florida that the relationship was going to end. I didn't think that Jennifer would be willing to wing it. And she fucking did, And as far as getting married, we just woke up one morning and said, can we get married today? Let's wing it. We winged it, and 6 hours later, we're married. And these aren't things that, they're not impossible. People think, well, I got to think about this and I got to do it. Well, I mean, if you overthink everything, you kind of miss the spontaneity.
Spontaneity.
Yeah, spontaneity of the moment. I mean, getting married. We spent months on my first wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding. A lot of great people came, but marrying you was probably, I couldn't have a better wedding. I mean, maybe if a couple of people were there,
that was super fun.
Yeah. And we don't mean fun like, oh, we got drunk and we're this and that. I mean, fun is a deep word for us. It felt good inside. It felt good outside. It wasn't like, it was just it's perfect.
We just figured that out as we went. I mean, I don't know if we've mentioned this on a previous podcast or not. It doesn't matter. But we originally said I had flown down to Florida and we were for the week. We were just enjoying our lives, and we're like, let's get married. We could go to Vegas. So then we looked at flights to Vegas because we're like, we know we can get married there. Anytime. But it just didn't feel right. It was expensive for such a short trip, and I was only going to be there for a few days in Florida anyway. So then I don't know why you said Georgia. You said something about, well, we could go to Georgia. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Like, I was like, I don't know why I didn't even think of Florida, but I said, Georgia, those hillbillies must let you get married right away.
So then we were looking at marriage laws in Georgia. And then, yeah, at some point it was almost like an incidental thought. Well, I wonder what the laws are in Florida. Huh.
That's kind of what it was. It was like, we were just like talking like, oh, I wonder, maybe we can get married here or go out to Vegas. And started. Was that the morning, or was that the day we got married?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so there was a lot going on in the morning that morning, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh. It was so crazy because in the state of Florida, if you are a resident, you have to wait 3 days between the day you file your marriage license and the day you can get married. But if you don't live in Florida, you can file the marriage certificate and get married in the same day. They don't care. They don't care about the non-residents. Do whatever you want, people.
Yeah. Don't worry about church.
Yeah.
Don't any of the religious stuff.
Gosh.
Just show us who you are, prove who you are, say these words, and boom.
Yeah.
You're married.
So that's a really good example of how we chose to wing it and how things worked out really great for us, and it was fun, and we have no regrets. We talk about St. Croix. Now, we haven't winged it to St. Croix yet, but it's on our radar.
Yes, and I keep having, visions, dreams. I'll be in the kitchen doing something, and all of a sudden, here's this image. I'm seeing the place I want to live, or I'm going to live in my head, just the way when I was a kid jogging across that bridge, I saw myself jumping out of airplanes at night, and it happened.
Wow.
When everybody else said it couldn't happen. So what were we talking about? We're talking about seeing these things that eventually we can get. Like,
yeah, I think we're talking about things now. So there's the sort of winging it and the deciding as you go, but there's also visioning. There's also creating a vision of where you want to go. And for you, when you were younger, you wanted to jump out of airplanes, and so you would go running every day, run across the bridge, and think about it and see it in your mind. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
visioning and creating visions is one of my all-time favorite things to do. I think it's setting the GPS and knowing where you want to go. We created a vision for us, the Complex Couple, in this travel lifestyle and this brand. And with that vision, with that destination in mind, it has made the in the moment winging it decisions very clear as to what the answers are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We need to buy a van. We need to go look at them. We need, to figure out how to record a podcast. We need to figure out how to create a YouTube channel. Like it becomes very clear when you know what it is that you want.
Hmm. Yeah. So, that part, there's a part of winging it and there's a part of using visions to enlighten that motivation, because I never thought of visions as they are being spoken of now, because I never shared any of this stuff until I met Jennifer. And then Jennifer's like, okay, this is scripting, this is, using your vision. And it all made sense. I was already doing it. I just didn't have a name for it. But the shit works, because I can tell you it worked when I was a young teenager. It's worked in my 20s and 30s and 40s. And I'm 56 and it's still working. I did it on January 6th, 2020, boys and girls.
That was our wedding date. Yeah, I think creating a vision for what you want can happen in limitless ways. I like to write it on paper and put pictures to it because I think I'm a visual and a word person, so that lights me up. You could create a vision board. You could see it in your mind's eye. You could just write about it, journal it in a notebook. That's what Keith is referring to when he says scripting. I've tried them all. I've tried them all on, and there's no wrong way. But I don't know how we got on this topic of having a vision, but it's a good one.
We're there.
We're there. Here we are, making it up as we go.
You want to go back on track?
Yeah. Oh gosh, my brain is so off track. I don't even know what on track is. Can you bring us back?
Well, okay, we were giving basically that update, talking about getting the van and seeing this and doing it and all those things. So now bring you up. So we've got the vehicle. We're planning on doing things with the vehicle. I'm reaching out to people that I know to help me build the vehicle. What else is going on here? Jennifer, you mentioned that we're now on YouTube, Instagram, those things.
Facebook, and all the podcast platforms. It's so exciting. Oh, and we're going to put our logo and our website on our van. I'm so excited about that.
I'm not sure, what kind of attention I'm going to get when I go home, but I'm sure my friends will have something. I will. So what else is going on? So
and we know that once we're on the road, we'll have more experiences to share. We'll have more people to meet and an interview, and we're so excited for that. We'll be able to sit outside. We won't necessarily be, where we are right now. Who knows?
In the cellar, cold, lonely.
By choice.
By choice. By choice.
I'm always going to say that.
So I was saying before Jennifer was telling you that. So the house is back on the market. Things seem to be falling into place. Yes, we're still watching and listening and paying attention to everything that's going on around us. Because there's other people involved with what we want to do. So we got to make sure everybody's okay first before we go ahead and hit the road. But
and we
up to this point,
we trust that we can keep ourselves safe while we're traveling. We'll take all the precautions and stay isolated and follow the pandemic as we need to. Be responsible for ourselves and for others.
Yeah. So what else are we on to, my love?
Let's see. We had talked before we started recording about, how sometimes in periods of our life we feel stuck or trapped or even out of touch with who we are. And the importance that we've learned over the years of really trying to tune in and honor that self, that dream, that desire, whatever it is. And I think that's just a message that we want to keep echoing and driving home to inspire people to do that. Because what's the point of living life if you're not loving it?
Yeah. And
when you can. I know you always remind me. Yeah. When you, I do forget sometimes. Tons of people are.
Well, I got to say something about Jennifer. Jennifer is the most upbeat, confident, not, I don't mean this in a cocky, confident way, but my wife has all the gifts and she's always upbeat. Nothing really rattles her cage much, besides my one-liners. So
Only when they're
yes,
extra raw, baby.
yeah, sometimes I get,
Extra raw.
I can't help it.
They make
Sometimes
me
I just,
cringe.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, just, not making excuses. That's probably one of the biggest culprits for people, is that we always have an excuse not to chase our dreams or do the things that we want to do. And I know there's people out there that just unfortunately will never be able to pursue a lot of their dreams, and that's sad. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, but for the ones that have the opportunity, if you can just get out of that little, it's like you're in this little box and you can't really move. You can't see anything. You need to step out of that and take the bigger, view of what's going on in your life. And then, if there's something you really, really want to do, you should figure a way to do it, and not wait. This shit about waiting till you're 60 or 70 to, do a lot of the stuff that you do. If you have any opportunity to do something, I say you always go for it, and go for it as quickly as possible.
One of the things you always say to me is, because you could die tomorrow, so you might as well do it today.
Yeah.
And that's, I never really thought about that.
Well, I think it has to do a lot with the way you live. I had a roommate when I was in the service. He was a very good friend of mine. We laughed a lot. We did a lot of parachuting together. Really, really good dude. Young, in the prime of his health and everything. And one morning I got up and he wasn't around anymore. And that was a guy I knew better than, I knew my own brother, my family, most people. I mean, I did everything with this guy. So those are the little reminders, and I've been out of the service for a long time, but those, if you have those kind of reminders and you don't exercise, flowing with it again, you can become, what that lesson or what that event taught me was take advantage of life every fucking day.
Mm-hmm. And I do think there's a big difference between the people who have opportunities or the ability to make choices and they squander them, versus the people who may not be able to make choices about their lives. It's the squandering people that, or the people that, the self-doubt, the self-trust, the feeling stuck. I've learned, and I used to be that person, but I've learned that is really kind of arbitrary and only in your mind. It's really you limiting you.
I totally agree with that. We're our own worst enemy. We're our own worst critic.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're always finding an excuse, unfortunately, not to do something we really want to do. And it's just, I don't know. To me, when you really, really want to do something, the people around you should understand that, and you shouldn't feel selfish by doing that.
Yeah. Anything is possible in my mind. Anything is possible. May not know how you're going to get there, but see it in your mind first. The path will unfold.
I want to share something. I just turned 56 this past April, and I've had some outstanding periods of time in my life. Some really good, some really bad, but the good ones are great. And I thought I had been at the top of the mountain with that. I wasn't sure if some of the things that I've enjoyed could ever be topped again. And everything that happened with Jennifer and that whole thing was just basically winging it up to a certain point. Besides my love for her, I knew right away that was rock solid, but I wasn't sure if I could, make all this happen. And well, I couldn't alone. So Jennifer and I were both able just to say, take it as it came, dealt with it, winged it, whatever. And, I mean, I don't know what today's date is, but I am happy as fuck. So, can I say that the way we did this, this relationship will last forever? I don't know that, but I want to look back, even if it didn't, and say, that was one of the finest experiences I've ever had. So,
Hell of a ride.
Hell of a ride.
I'm so grateful to have a partner who's willing to do this crazy lifestyle with me and figure it out as we go. That is hard for a lot of people. My mother wants to know sometimes what I want for dinner next week. And I'm like, I don't know. It's too far away. I can't make that decision now. I'll make that decision on that day.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, it's like when we're taking all that in and trying to process all that, and from a logical point of view, who knows what you would eat a week from now? Maybe you don't have a ton of food in the house. Who knows? But just what the hell was I going with this?
Where you going, honey?
Anyways, but just not trying to overthink everything and focus on the things that you can really deal with in that moment.
And do I do this perfectly? I don't, but I've evolved to a place where I do it more often than not.
Yeah, you definitely, when I met Jennifer, she's busy anyways, but she had a hard time, I think, totally relaxing because you were just 100 miles an hour, all day. You're working really, really hard.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way. She's just a hard worker, but because of the pandemic, we've had some modifications to the way we live our lifestyle. So she's relaxing a little bit more.
I'm learning to adapt to Keith's, every day is Saturday lifestyle. But it's so funny because I still can't be like working. I love to create. I loved working on our website and our brand and our logo and all of these podcasts and things like that. Like, it's fun for me. This work is fun. So.
And that's probably her gift. She has to be creative from a core level. Like, her soul wants to be creative. So she's in a pandemic and she's been very creative. She's done a ton of work on the websites and her own writing and her book and getting all these platforms set up. So
yeah, I have a new idea for a new website, honey, but we'll talk about that offline.
I just shake my head and go, am I paying for this?
No, we'll cost you a dime.
No.
Yeah. All right, I think that's a wrap. I think we're about out of time, but this we kind of wove this conversation in many different directions, but I think it's a good one. They're all good topics.
We kind of winged it, but it was okay. So
that's what we do. Best.
I'm coming upstairs and getting a kiss here as soon as we get off this thing. So
I'm
ready. I love you too.
Mwah.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, honey.